and welcome to our Blindness and Mental Health Summit. We're going to go ahead and get started since a couple minutes after 12. My name is Alexandra Luzier, and I am the Vice President of Business Development and Communications with Accessible Pharmacy Services. We're so excited to have you all here and to have all of these amazing presenters here today and just to be able to put on this event for you. We were positively overwhelmed by the response that we got for this event. We had thousands of attendees, including just a wide range of individuals coming from a wide range of places, government agencies, healthcare providers, nonprofit organizations, community members, our patients, and other consumers. So the attendees today are tuning in from all 50 states in America and as well as 20 different countries. So we are absolutely thrilled and we cannot thank our community enough. And I want to give a huge shout out to everybody that's speaking today and just thank them ahead of time for speaking on mental health as a whole and all of their individual topics and experiences. I want to mention that the Blindness and Mental Health Summit is a two-part event. This is part one, the speaker series. We will hear from all of our speakers and presenters. They are all different thought leaders in the disability and mental health community. And they'll each speak for 10 minutes. So it's going to be kind of like a rapid fire structure. And this part will end at approximately 2:30. But whenever it ends, that's when the part two begins. And part two is an exhibit hall. It's also virtual and it takes place on our website at accessiblepharmacy.com/summit. I will put that link in the chat box for you to navigate to when this part ends. We've also emailed that link to you, and I'll also repeat that link at the end of this part today. As I said, there are thousands of attendees for this event, so I do just want to mention to just please be mindful and respectful and kind. If you go into an exhibit booth and you're unable to speak to somebody, all of their contact information is there for you to reach out to them in the future. This speaker series does have ASL interpretation, and I do want to just thank our interpreters for allowing us to have more accessibility in our event today. There is also live closed captioning, and this event is also available for CE credit from the CRCC. So if you would like to receive CE credit for attending today, please just email us afterwards, and we will get that sorted for you. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we are Accessible Pharmacy Services, and welcome. We are a home delivery pharmacy service, and we specialize in individuals with disabilities. We are the only provider of its kind, and we are the largest blind-owned healthcare company in the country. We are so excited to put on this event for you. I really can't say it enough. I know I've mentioned it a few times, but if this is your first time learning about us or joining us for one of our events, this is who we are. This is one of the things that we do, and we are so grateful to have you join us for the first time. This year has been a really crazy year. We have experienced massive love and support from the community, and we have grown so much because of it. And we are so incredibly grateful for everybody's support. We have actually outgrown our operations because of it. It has just been incredible. I can't even explain it. It is so exciting. And we are so thrilled about it. Because of it, we have kind of experienced some growing pains. And the exciting news is that because of that, we are actually expanding our operations in order to accommodate everything. So we will soon be able to serve patients in all 50 states. We will soon have increased hours. We'll be introducing prescription assistance program support, and we'll also have more care coordinators to provide additional and enhanced support. And we will be expanding our existing services to the deaf community and the paralysis community. All of this is coming in the early fall. We will email everybody with the announcement. And once again, I would just like to thank everybody for the continued love and support that has gotten us to this point. We really, really love what we do, but we could not do it without all of you. And we could not have gotten to this point without all of you in the community that we're in. My last few announcements are really quick, and then we'll get to the point of why we're all here. Our next event is the 3rd Annual Blind Health Expo. That is on Friday, December 6th. The Blind Health Expo is the largest virtual gathering of blindness and healthcare professionals, just sharing ideas and resources and thoughts. It's completely virtual, and information about that event will be going out in the next few weeks. So mark your calendars, Friday, December 6th. We would love for you to participate with us and attend with us and spend the day with us on Friday, December 6th. Over the past year, we have also rolled out diabetes education programs, including the diabetes prevention program. This program is completely virtual, and it's for individuals who are trying to reduce their risk of developing type 2 diabetes. It's taught by 2 diabetes lifestyle coaches on our team who are blind, and as we are also teaching a course in ASL. So if you're interested in joining us, please just send us an email, and we would love to have you join our program. On the topic of diabetes, we will be having an event very similar to the structure of this summit. We'll be having a very similar event like this, but surrounding the topic of diabetes in the early 2025. So more info about that coming soon. I just want to, drop that little teaser because we're really excited about that too. And if you would like for us to speak with your support group or have us do a training for your staff about medication management solutions for individuals with diabetes, we would absolutely love to speak with you all. Please just reach out to us, and we would love to do that. Lastly, after the webinar is over, in the next few days, we'll send out an email. It will have the recordings from this speaker series. It will have the transcript. You'll be able to respond to it with feedback. We really encourage it and appreciate it. And then it will also have the information about receiving CE credit. Now, let's get started. I am super, super excited to introduce you to our first speaker, Sam Hendrickson. And I also want to thank his team at the Eye to Eye Peer Support Program for Vision Loss, including Alicia, who is here with us today too. The whole team is incredible. We really, really love all the work that they do. We've been working with them for a little bit, and they're just all incredible. So thank you so much for being here today, Sam. And I'm going to start by sharing your slides for you. But please take it away. Let me spotlight you first.
Alexandra, is my microphone? You can hear me okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you, Alexandra. Thank you to Accessible Pharmacy for this opportunity, most particularly because I believe it is a critical topic in our community, blindness and mental health. I'm honored to be here today on behalf of Eye to Eye. I think the first slide starts with who we are, or beyond the slide with our logo on it. And,
yes,
this slide has some of my favorite words in it. We're free. We're phone-based peer support that's really designed to help people with vision loss or blindness and their families adjust to the challenges that come with the event of vision loss. So it's a wonderful, when I say peer, we're largely a one-to-one, peer-to-peer program. When I say peer, let me kind of dig a little deeper. We are blind peers talking to other blind peers in a one-on-one format. That said, we also offer a variety of support groups led by our blind peers for other blind peers. So wonderful thing. Next slide, please.
Go ahead.
So this one, I believe, is entitled Vision Loss and Mental Health. And let me, a few qualifying statements first. When Sam, think of vision loss, a little bit of a distinguishing factor here, I guess. Within the blindness and vision loss community, I categorize 2 sort of subgroups, if you will, vision loss and those blind since birth. Eye to eye with me personally, the folks that I talk to are people in the first category. People having had a sighted life, now are vision impaired or have lost vision. And I say that particularly in reference to this topic of mental health, because it's within the vision loss group that the literature I've read suggests that there's this comorbidity, that people have once had a sighted life, now who have lost vision are 4 times more likely for depression and anxiety. That said, I kind of characterize the needs of the vision loss community in 2 ways. One, practical needs, things of just the daily living, um, things that accessible pharmacy helps to do with labeling and the delivery of medicines and so forth, white canes, mobility orientation, practical needs. But I also think that there are emotional needs, which is particularly relevant given the summit's topic of vision loss and mental health. So there's some words here of things that we believe vision loss is associated with. And I talked about depression and anxiety, feelings of worry and isolation, loneliness, fear, and just not being able to do or think, not being able to do the things that we once did. Um, we also believe that these mental health needs, the emotional needs, while the practical needs seem to be abundant. When I first lost my vision 5 years ago, I didn't have much challenge in getting a white cane and getting trained with it. But finding an organization eye to eye was a bit more challenging. Finding the emotional help that I needed to cope and begin my recovery with vision loss was a bit more challenging. So we seek in eye to eye to provide help and resources for both of those categories of needs. But me, Sam, in my experience, I have found that the magic of this program is really addressing the emotional needs of our clients. Next slide, please. So our services, as I noted, we provide largely one-on-one, peer-to-peer, and that's a blind peer to another blind peer, to create what I think is a sense of connection, the support that we need, not just with resources, but emotionally, and that sort of thing, and to give people a sense of community, and so forth. So the things that we offer, if I were to suggest a word to describe all the words here that are bulleted, it would be recovery. How do we learn to live with vision loss? So things like, as I said, an emotional support, information and resources, to generalize those 2 broad categories. But we dig a little deeper sometimes with our clients in terms of assessing their needs and well-being, suggesting goals, finding places within their communities, and even establishing communities inside of our support groups to help. All of our team is equipped with referrals, should they need anything from obviously medical referrals or other resources in the states. We reach all states in continental United States and so forth. So, and I'll also mention too that I think this is one of a kind, and not just because it's my wife, but because I do think it's one of a kind. Blindness affects the entire family. I have always sort of championed that when I lost my vision, my family was deeply affected too. Blindness happened to our entire family, and spouses and partners and children and families have needs as well. And sometimes those are practical needs, but more often I find that they need emotional support as well. My wife volunteers with Eye to Eye as well, and has a support group aimed at helping spouses and partners of blind people. So no blind people allowed in the group. That one is strictly for the spouses and or partners of we blind people. And it's been tremendously successful at this point. We also provide services in Spanish. I have a couple of colleagues there that are bilingual, which is a wonderful thing. And we also do virtual support groups and things like that nature as well. I'll end simply with this. I've been asked at times, what's the magic of Eye to Eye? Where is the power of this program? And it's something that I didn't really learn, but came to realize. And just really, as I'm becoming more and more of a blind person and adjusting myself. About 5 years ago, I lost my vision. Soon after that, I had the great fortune of connecting and being a participant in Eye to Eye. I was a client. and spoke with now a fellow colleague, but at the time, my own personal peer, one-on-one. And it was a game changer for me to be able to speak with somebody who shared a very unique sense of struggle with me in a way that no other people in my life at that time understood or could get. It was just the magic of walking alongside with somebody in that sense of shared struggle that I found the magic. And the connecting with him uh, was just profound in my beginning of my recovery with vision loss. So much so that I was recommended by him to become a participant. And now I volunteer in a variety of capacities. But the magic, the true magic, if I could write a prescription that Accessible Pharmacy could fill and deliver to other blind people in the recovery of emotional needs with blindness and vision loss, it would be simply this: that when we give inside of community, there's this wonderful reciprocity that we get in return. I can't really further explain how it works. I think it's just magical that when we listen and talk with other people inside of a shared struggle, the load that we carry seems to just get a little bit lighter a day by day. And at times you sit back and reflect that my load doesn't feel quite as heavy as it once did in the beginning. And when that happens, that's when hope and opportunity and a new, renewed sense of purpose just seem to be realized. And it's a wonderful thing. And that's why, to be honest, I selfishly volunteer the majority of my time with this wonderful organization. It helps me probably more than I help the others. So, again, Accessible Pharmacy, Alexandra, to the guests here, our listeners here today. Our last slide, if you could advance it, Alexandra, just shows how to get in touch with us. Whether it be through Facebook or Twitter, our website, the phone number, emailing. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to have you join us. I can't speak enough for this wonderful organization and the good work that we do. I'm very proud of it. It's been a game changer for me in my recovery with vision loss. So thank you for your time today. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity, Accessible Pharmacy. Look forward to the rest of the summit. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. So I'm going to stop sharing your slides, and thank you so much, Sam. I also cannot say enough about Eye to Eye, their entire team. And Sam spoke with us in September, and then he's speaking with us today. And just overall, their entire team is incredible. You can speak further with the Eye to Eye team at the exhibit hall once we finish here at the speaker series. But for now, we're going to move on to our next speaker. So let me unpin Sam, and we are moving on to Julie with Prevent Blindness. We are so excited, Julie. Thank you so much for being here today. And please take it away.
Thank you so much. Congrats to Accessible Pharmacy for your expansion and this opportunity, and for really taking on this topic. It's so important. And I am also a huge fan of Eye to Eye. Thank you, Sam, for your wonderful presentation. I love the script idea. And many of the peer counselors at Eye to Eye have also participated in the Prevent Blindness aspect program. So grateful to you all. So I'm Julie Gretzmacher. I'm the Director of Patient Advocacy at Prevent Blindness. I'm a white woman with long brown hair, very curly and thick. I'm wearing a green shirt. So Prevent Blindness has been around since 1908, and we work to educate the public on vision conditions that can be prevented, but where they can't be prevented, we work to empower and to advocate. And a couple of our initiatives around the Empower arm of our strategic plan are the Aspect program and the work that we've done as a result of the Aspect program. So the Aspect program is an acronym. It's very long, and it is an advocacy training program for those who have vision loss and blindness and their allies. So doctors, students, occupational therapists, mental health providers, et cetera. We all come together to learn about advocacy and to talk about topics that are of interest and the ways that we want to impact change. And so through the conversations that we have had over the years, this program is pretty new yet. It started in 2020. And to date, we've trained about 200 individuals across the United States and New Zealand. So we have about 200 trainees. The topic of mental health and the gap in services and the gap in resources was one that continually arose in conversations. And we trained 2 cohorts every year, and it just continued to come up. And so we knew that at Prevent Blindness, there was something that we could do, and to learn more and to identify, what was going to be our avenue for impacting change. And so in the summer of 2022, 2 years ago, we put together an interprofessional task force, which was comprised of ophthalmologists, retina specialists, vision rehabilitation specialists, optometrists, individuals who had sight loss and blindness due to a variety of conditions, and mental health providers. And we met for 4 focus group meetings all over Zoom. And in those conversations, we learned about the key barriers that were there around what gets in the way of asking, but on the part of the provider, your patient who about their mental health, how they're coping, what gets in the way of ever asking that, and on the part of the patient, what gets in the way of expressing that need, of asking for help, of communicating values. So we discovered the key barriers and some common themes that arose. And we took about a year to synthesize all of the material. And we put that into an issue brief, which was published last year in June. And this issue brief lives on our website. It's and it really is meant to be geared towards policymakers and public health professionals and other professionals, with some recommendations for practice and policy opportunities. Some of the key takeaways were around the change or loss of identity, especially for those who are losing vision due to progressive conditions, later in life, and adjusting to adapting and doing things a little bit differently. That involves a loss and a shift in identity. And so the group really recognized that was one major category to be addressed. Then the loss of independence, and how so many times acute depression and anxiety can be a result of not having the resources or not knowing about the resources that are available. And so really assessing, is there something that could help this individual regain independence and self-efficacy, and how that might move the needle in coping. And then emotions, tracking, and recall. This was something that came up as, there's often a flood of emotions that come up when an individual is in the doctor's office and they receive a diagnosis or shortly thereafter, feelings of shock and fear and devastation, and loss, and that inhibits an ability to digest medical information and to really understand the scope of their diagnosis. And so the recommendation from the group was that folks may benefit from getting a call a week later, after they had time to process it a little bit more, so that they can really feel empowered to know their medical diagnosis, but then also to know that someone cares about them and their mental health. And then grief and coping was another theme that came from the conversations around anticipatory grief, knowing that you will, become blind, and the anxiety really related to, gradual vision loss, that there is, different coping strategies or approaches, and that no matter what, that there's a benefit in the provider asking the patient how they are doing and how they are coping. And so the group recommended 3 questions in particular that came out of the conversations that could really do a lot to communicate empathy between provider and patient. One is, I imagine it is hard adjusting to your vision loss. How are you holding up? So just a simple question like this doesn't require too much extra time, but it can really normalize the grief and loss process, and that it shows that you care. A second question is, would you like to talk to someone about how you are feeling? This is a question that can get around the stigma that we know that is still out there, but still gives them an opportunity to respond. And then to tell me more about how you've previously coped with difficult situations, that this is just an opportunity to remind them of how they've dealt with difficult situations before, and to call on those coping skills, that can do a lot for someone who is, feeling anxiety and acute stress. And so the opportunities that came out of the focus groups that we published in the issue brief really are under 4 categories. Awareness of vision rehabilitation services, that right now providers are not referring enough to vision rehabilitation services, and or patients are not accepting a referral. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but the bottom line that the group identified is that there's an opportunity to educate and to share stories back to providers about the times when it really helped to have the services that were provided. And it helped the mental health as well as the functional health. And then resource development and dissemination, that simply there were not enough, that there's not a good resource network for mental health related resources, that often providers don't know about the resources at a national level or at a local level, and that there's more that we could all be doing to share those resources. And then that there's more training that needs to be provided for eye care, primary care, as well as mental health providers to increase empathetic communication and sensitizing them to the journey, the process, the coping for those who have vision loss and blindness. And that we all want to work towards an integrated eye care model, which is really considered the gold standard, where we have many different interprofessionals working together for the health, the physical and mental health of individuals with vision loss and blindness. And so we today are developing mental health modules, and we are working on focusing on mental health providers. So sensitizing them to the needs of counseling individually, those who have vision loss and blindness, as well as family members. And to do this, we reached out to our network of Aspect trainees, as I mentioned, over 200 individuals. And we asked them in a mass email, what barriers have you faced of contacting a mental health provider? Have you ever felt discomfort with the provider's lack of knowledge about vision loss or blindness? Have you ever felt talked down to by a mental health provider? How does a loved one's blindness or vision loss affect the family? Strained relationships or changed dynamics, unclear responsibilities. And do you believe that family members can benefit from psychological support and counseling? And from this mass email we sent out, we within 24 hours received a robust response of people wanting to share their stories of times when they had experiences that were less than ideal and ways in which they felt things could be improved. And that was everything from just getting in the door, inaccessible paper forms, inaccessible clinic settings, to being in the therapist's office, things that they wish were done differently. And then also involving spouses and family members. So we are currently putting together these stories, a compilation of stories, and really using it as a tool to educate the next generation of mental health providers. And So thank you all for the opportunity, and we hope to have these developed in the next year or so. But to learn more, you can visit our website, preventblindness.org, and to learn about the Aspect program, the advocacy training program, you can visit preventblindness.org/aspect. That's ASPECT. Thank you so much. My name is Julie Gretzmacher. Again, really appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. If, like Julie said, to learn more, all those different links will also be available in her exhibit booth, which you can visit once we're done here at the speaker series. And Prevent Blindness is an absolutely amazing organization, and all the information that she shared is also available to learn more at her exhibit booth. So thank you for being here today, Julie, and sharing all that information. For our next speaker, we have Charlie Collins with Thriving Blind Academy, and I'm so excited that you're here today, Charlie. Please take it away.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And thank you for scaring me a little when you called my name before, Julie.
I apologize.
No, it's all good. I'm like, what? I'm here so I can do this. And I appreciate this event and being asked to be a part of it. So did you know the number one thing that limits a blind person is their vision? And did you know the number one thing that limits a sighted person is their vision? And what is vision? Well, what it is not is what we see through our eyes, because we don't see with our eyes, we see with our brains, right? So vision is done internally, and vision is how we see ourselves, how we see the world around us, the people in it, how we see possibility, opportunity, how we imagine, how we find a lane or a purpose, and that us as legally blind or blind people, or any type of actually all people, that we can kind of see ourselves moving in a direction that serves us and the people, the community we want to serve. That's vision to me, because I learned that I wasn't able to see well with my eyes. I was diagnosed. Well, I want to ask a question. What is the number one cause of blindness? And I get lots of answers. I'll get macular degeneration, retinitis pigmentosa, glaucoma. I used to get cataracts, but not anymore. And a host of other different eye diseases. And really the number one cause of blindness is our thinking. And this is a health summit that is focusing on our mental awareness of ourself and our thoughts and how we feel and how our vision is. And that's really where I did a lot of work in my life. So if we think and then we choose, right? And then once we choose, we behave, we take an action. After that, we have an experience or an outcome. After that, we have a feeling, an emotion. And what happens in life, and it happened to me at a young age, because I was diagnosed at 9, declared legally blind at age 13 with juvenile macular degeneration, otherwise known, Stargardt's disease. And actually, I have 4 sisters and 1 brother, and 4 out of 6 of us were all diagnosed with the disease. And what happened to me in the next 10 years, from age 13 to 23, I thought not well. I thought, this isn't fair. I'm not going to amount to anything. I can't. I'll never be. I'm not worthy. I'm a victim. This shouldn't have happened to me. So I built this structure around that mind. So I had a conditioned mind that only saw what wasn't possible. My vision was shut down. I didn't dream. I didn't imagine many things in life except terrible things, like it wasn't fair, and I wasn't gonna be able to amount to much in life. And what happened was I moved in. I didn't thrive much, but in my younger days I did. But I started living a life of survival, and 90% of our thoughts becomes conditioned, unconscious. So each day we're bringing that same baggage in. We're bringing in. That doesn't mean it's all baggage. Like now I don't bring that baggage in, but I used to bring in that same recycled thought. And I would say, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to find a better job. I'm going to do this. But I couldn't seem to get out of that rut. And I did take some notes too. So what happened? Well, I woke up to the fact that, I'm sorry. I learned, first of all, that I was forming habits and beliefs, a structure deep within me that I was basing my thought. So again, we think, then we behave, we think, we make a choice. Then we behave in a certain way. We take an action. After that, we have an experience, an outcome, and then we have an emotion, a feeling. And what do most of us do when it isn't a good one? We kind of blame, we complain, we rationalize, we justify, we defend why, well, you know, if you were legally blind and only had a college degree and, oh, life is so hard, you would also, you know, and I made a lot of excuses for my poor performance in life. And I was done with it. I got an opportunity. The owner of a motorcycle store offered me a job. Me. What are you, crazy? I cut the lawn. I don't work at motorcycle places. I can't. I don't see. I'm legally blind. Now, I didn't say all this, but that's what I thought. So I finally I was at that jumping off point. Is it possible? What can I do? Could I possibly work here? Maybe. So what I have to do, I had to ask for help. I had to accept my eye disease in at least, you know, accepting something doesn't mean we have to like it. I didn't, but I said, listen, this thing is killing me. I've got to either accept it a little bit and start working with it, or I don't, you know, the other option wasn't looking good because I was a prey to misery and depression. You know, I felt like I wasn't any use out there. I was at this jumping off point where I didn't know what else to do. And I raised my hand and said, I kind of surrendered to this and I need help. And I no longer was the guy who pretended he was sighted, didn't want to live in the world as a legally blind guy. Finally said, I got to work with this a little. And I got some help. I got some tools. I got some adaptive technology and video magnification. I took the job. But I warned the guy, I don't know what you're thinking, buddy, but I'm legally blind. He goes, I know. I could tell you had something wrong with your eyes, but I believe in you. I said, oh my gosh. I mean, tears about came to my eye. You believe in me? How is that possible? I didn't believe in myself. I have come to learn the impact and importance of believing in yourself. And believing it is possible, that direction, that worthy ideal that we're moving towards. So I will go ahead and do that for a while. And I realized later on, I started a business helping people after the motorcycle business. I thrived. I went from survival back into thriving. I became the vice president part owner of this company. I mean, this is crazy. I was cutting the lawn and then 3 years later, I owned it. Not all of it. But anyway, I burned out and I went and started a company to help people like me, legally blind or blind. I opened a retail operation. I brought all sorts of adaptive technology and people. I mean, I heard Sam say it, being around people that I could serve and helped me live a better life. And I was like, wow, all my needs get met by thinking of how I could serve you and then take action to help have you see the truth within you. And then I feel better. This is weird. I never knew that. See, I moved from being a go-getter in life and I started becoming a go-giver. And it really worked. And then I was at a conference and I was at a Jack Canfield conference. And, you know, I am a best-selling author. I know that's a miracle, but that inner prompting came to me and I said, let me entertain that, because I now in my life, 40 years old and getting older, I'm starting to, my eyesight's getting worse, but my vision is getting clearer. And I said, why do I keep thinking about writing a book? And how did I become a speaker? And why am I an international speaker now? I've driven out traveled out of the country to bring my message of inspiration and hope. It's like, how did this happen for me? See, my life always happened to me. And I realized all my struggling, suffering, and surviving brought me to a place where I finally realized that was happening for me, so I could finally turn into the person that I was meant to be. And I'm still just getting started at age 57. So anyway, I'm out in the audience of this event, and it was all about self-esteem and taking risk and believing it's possible, believing in yourself, and forming networks. And I am petrified. It's in California. I live in Connecticut. I'm all alone. There's 300 smart people and the legally blind guy sitting in the front row taking notes. Oh, that's right. I'm not even really on the screen, but I got my notes. They're massive with a Sharpie. The lady next to me says, "Do you mind using a different pen? That one stinks." And I said, "Do you mind shutting up?" No, I didn't say that. But I did think it. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have to use a ballpoint pen. I can't see my own writing. So I came the second day to the event, and they put the name badges on a table. And I said, oh no, there's no one there that's going to give me my name badge, and I can't see them. And of course I had to bring like a magnifier or anything, because, I don't know. And I started doing that low vision dive, looking down, and then people would come, I'd stand up. And I was ready to go home. That's it. I'm packing it in. I can't do this. I never should have come here. This is way outside my familiar zone. Now, I'm running a successful business in Connecticut, but it was my environment. It's where I became familiar and comfortable. But something prompted me to step outside of that. And then I questioned that idea, that action I took. I was like, I should go home. This is too much for me. All because I couldn't see a name badge. So some people came walking up, and I said, no, I need to ask for help. I said, excuse me, could someone help me find my name badge? I left my glasses in my room. Oops, a little lie, because I went, well, why tell them? They don't need to know. Anyways, I went in, and I happened to tell Jack Canfield that story. Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul guy, who actually
Charlie, forgive me, but you have 1 minute left.
All right, I'm going to make it quick. He wrote the foreword to my book. So Jack Canfield called me out in the audience and said, how long are you going to continue to carry this chip on your shoulder? He helped me see that I still hadn't fully accepted my eye disease. And now I'm going to end with the Thriving Blind Academy. We go from the word thriver. Tools, that could be blindness tools, braille, that could be speech, that could be computers, that could be magnification, all sorts of tools, and mental and physical tools. Then we go to H. H is handy capable. What is possible? How can I? I believe in myself. I believe it's possible. And then we go THR. R is responsibility. I have the ability to respond to the way I'm thinking, how I feel, and adjust, course correct, or ask for help. THRI, independence, interdependence. I can solve problems. I can ask for help. I can become part of a team. RIV, value. Value. What values do I come from, and what value do I bring to the table? E, emotion. What energy and motion? How do I show up? What am I bringing to the table? And then the last letter is R, risk, my favorite one. What risk do you need to take to help move you in the direction that you know deep down you're meant to do, be, and have? Thank you so much. And we'll see you in the Thriving Blind Academy breakout room, whatever we're calling it. But Kristen, my co-founder partner, will be there with me.
Awesome. Thank you, Charlie. As Charlie said, they will have an exhibit booth. You can go and visit them after this speaker series is over. Charlie, thank you so much for being here today, talking about thrivers, talking about yourself. This is awesome. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Next, we have Andy Lane with Be My Eyes. We are huge fans of Be My Eyes here at Accessible Pharmacy, and I cannot thank you enough, Andy, for being here, speaking with us today. And yeah, go ahead, take it away, Andy.
Thank you so much, Alex, and thank you, and Accessible Pharmacy, for putting this on. This is where we hopefully get to change the world just a little bit by sharing ideas and raising awareness about the things that matter and the things that can improve our lives. So I've been going round and round in my own mind about how to approach this for the last few weeks since we originally spoke about it. you know, blindness, a massive topic. Mental health, a massive topic. Well, hang on a minute. I've suffered from both of those. I was born partially sighted. I have retinitis pigmentosa. So I was born with a little bit of vision, not very much. I qualified with a guide dog when I was 16. I was the second youngest in the world, beaten by an American back in '96. And as I've gone through my life, I guess I've struggled with the mental health implications of not being able to access visual information, you know, because there's loads that I want to do with my life. And having the visual information that I need to do it further away than I'd like it to be is a difficult thing. But it was something that I could deal with until about 3 years ago during lockdown. I lost the last of my vision. Some people with retinitis pigmentosa get through their entire lives with still quite a lot of vision, but unfortunately, I lost everything 3 years ago. It was a very, very, very difficult time because that visual information that I need, we all need. You know, the world is a very, very visual place. It's designed by sighted people for sighted people on the whole. It got further away, and so the freedom, the independence, and the I've forgotten the other word. The freedom and the independence and the autonomy. Those are the things. That's the intersection where I think mental health becomes affected by blindness, because without freedom and autonomy and independence, personally, I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, but I personally felt quite helpless. But you know, obviously, there's never been a good time to go blind. It's a very, very, very difficult thing to live with. But you know, we need to build a life that's as good as it can be. We need to be fulfilled. We need to have autonomy in order to have our mental health. And so now is as good a time as there has ever been to go blind. You know, we've got more awareness than there's ever been. And where there's awareness in the sighted people, you know, they can start building a world that we can exist in alongside and do just as well and be competitive with. There's tools and there's skills. So obviously I had to learn more skills when I went completely blind. But the tools is obviously why I'm here. I'm representing Be My Eyes, and Be My Eyes, in my opinion, is an absolutely incredible tool for the blind community. So what is Be My Eyes? Probably a lot of people here are going to know Be My Eyes fairly well, but for anybody who doesn't, Be My Eyes is a community of over 8 million people connected by blindness. So on the one side, you've got volunteers who are wanting to offer help. And on the other side, you have users who are receiving help. So this was all started with a very, very simple idea 10 years ago. Our founder and still Northern Light, Hans, he is a farmer. He's Danish, and he was losing his sight. And one day he thought, I wonder if I could connect people who can see with people who need visual assistance through smartphones. And the connection was made. And here we are 10 years later. We are, I believe, the largest virtual volunteer network on Earth. So we've got 7.5 million volunteers, 650,000 blind and low vision users. So what is Be My Eyes? It's an app that you can download on multiple platforms. We're on iPhone, Android, and very recently Windows. So the Windows app is a little less featured than the others. But on iPhone and Android, you have 3 main features that you can use to access the visual world. So there's the incredible volunteer network. Anytime, day or night, no cost whatsoever, you can connect with, I believe it's over 180 languages, if I've got that number right. You can connect with sighted people who are more than willing, happy, delighted to receive calls. So you download the app, you make a call, you ask a question, you get sighted assistance. We also have what we call service directory. Service directory is a way that blind and low vision people can make contact with companies who have decided to provide accessible customer services to their products and services. So this is an absolutely incredible resource, because if you're blind and low vision, it can be that the companies that you want to use and interact with and have to interact with, their products and services aren't so accessible. So in the Be My Eyes app, you can visit the service directory. There's many, and there's more being added all the time. Companies who you can either call, you can open an AI session with, which I'll talk about in just a second, or you can call with video. And we've got some absolutely amazing partners there, like Microsoft and Google and Unilever, and the list goes on and on. So feel free to do that. The last part of what we do is a very recent addition, but it's something that's been very, very popular indeed. So it's called Be My AI. Be My AI is based on GPT-4 Vision, which is an OpenAI product, incredible partners that we have. You can just point your smartphone at anything in front of you, tap on your phone, and within a few seconds receive a description of what's in front of you. So, and once you've got the description of what's in front of you, you can ask questions about what's in front of you. So if what you need isn't described, you can drill down and ask as many questions as you like. So these three tools are, for me personally, have made such a massive difference to mental health, because it's a tool that I can use in complete blindness to understand the visual world without having to ask anybody else around me. And I don't like doing that, to be perfectly honest with you. So some of the uses that people find for Be My Eyes I get to read these all the time, and they're so incredibly touching. So one of the ones that really got me was a blind mother with her newborn baby called a volunteer, and the volunteer got to be a part of describing her newborn baby to her that she'd just given birth to. She was still in the hospital. That got me choked up in it really got me. Another one with Be My AI. I don't know why the parenting ones just stick with me, but somebody, a mother again, was using Be My AI. She was pointing her phone around the corner, and she was snapping a photo, and she was having her children playing. She was having that described to her, and she was able to understand their faces and what they were doing and how they were sitting. And yeah, it was such an incredibly emotional thing to hear. We hear about people who are using Be My AI to go through education. It's incredibly good at understanding graphs and circuit diagrams, and just literally anything that you can imagine is worth trying Be My AI with. If you'd like to join Be My Eyes as a user who's blind, you can just visit the App Store, download and register, and join the 650,000 people who are using the app to get access to the visual world. And if you would like to volunteer, obviously we'd be delighted to have you join our network of 7.5 million people, and you can offer your time to blind and low vision people to help us achieve what we need to in life. And I just really hope you come and join the party. It's an incredible resource that's provided for free, and so let's all get there. Let's all make the most of it. And thank you so much to Accessible Pharmacy for inviting us.
Thanks, Andy. Everything you shared was incredible. Particularly the stories about people who the use case stories. How incredible.
They really get me. They really do.
Oh my goodness, that's absolutely amazing. We are, like I said, we are huge fans of Be My Eyes. You can find Accessible Pharmacy on the Be My Eyes app, but oh my gosh, those use case stories, yeah, they got me choked up a little bit. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Andy, for being here and sharing all the amazing ways you can use Be My Eyes, whether it be a personal volunteer, specialized help, or the Be My AI, which is absolute science fiction. It's so cool, and an absolute wonderful way to
should mention. I'm really sorry, but I forgot to mention what's coming in the coming months. You may have read about it, you may have heard about it. There's a new model which is going to be able to stream live video and describe that live video to you as it's being streamed. So I've actually had a chance to use this, and I was able to hail a taxi with it. I took it to the park in London, in Hyde Park, and have some ducks playing in the pond described to me. Just, you know, where this stuff is going is just it's changing our lives. It really is, and it's just a pleasure to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Oh my, that's incredible. The Be My Eyes team is a part of our exhibit hall. They do have a booth. So if you have any questions or would like to continue the conversation with Andy about all of this amazing stuff that he's talking about, please go and visit them after we're done here. Thank you again, Andy. For our next speaker, we have Amy Ruell with the Massachusetts Association for the Blind. Thank you, Amy, for being here today. Please take it away. Oh, Amy, I can't hear you. Hold on one second. Let me see. You're muted. You're unmuted, but I can't hear you.
Sorry, was that talking to me?
No, I'm talking to Amy. I apologize. Amy, I could hear you earlier when we got on first, but I can't hear you now. You're muted again, but when you were unmuted, I still couldn't hear you. I can hear your screen reader.
Oh, weird.
Oh, there we go. I can hear you.
My apologies. I love technical glitches.
Yeah, there we
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to Accessible Pharmacy Services. And thank you for all of my fellow presenters. And most importantly, for all of the people attending this today. This is such an important topic. I am currently, and for the next 2 weeks, will be the Director of Social Services at the Mass Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. I'm going to be leaving this post and trying to pursue some part-time opportunities. But I'm delighted to be here today and to talk with you about providing services, clinical services to people with visual disabilities and the role of lived experience in doing so. The Massachusetts Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired is one of the oldest agencies serving the blind in the US. We were started in 1903 by Helen Keller and some of her friends, and we primarily serve folks with acquired visual disability, mostly folks who are older. We have a number of programs, including the provision of occupational therapy services in the home, access technology training. We have a volunteer program. We have a robust peer group program, peer empowerment, we call it, PEP for short. And we have 36 peer support groups around the country, around the state, excuse me, all led by people who are 55 and older and who are blind or visually impaired. But one of the things that I certainly knew about as a clinician with a lot of clinical experience is that, as people have documented and talked about earlier today, how difficult it is for people to find quality clinical care when they are blind or visually impaired. Unfortunately, there's a tremendous gap in terms of the knowledge that most clinical practitioners have about blindness and visual impairment. And actually, when you think about it, that's not a surprise, in that for most people, blindness and visual impairment are seen as catastrophic events. The stereotypic images that many people have about blindness are very strong indeed, and they often are insidious, and most people are not even aware that they harbor such negative stereotypic thoughts. And what that means also for people who acquire visual disability, even more than for those of us like myself who were born with blindness, are that they often feel hopeless and lost, and in some cases even feel that life is over when they lose their vision, and some even contemplate suicide. And we know from what speakers have said today and what the literature tells us how prevalent the incidence of anxiety and depression and hopelessness and isolation are within the blind community. So when I came to the Mass Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired, I wanted to try to find a way to address the issue and also to address some of the logistical challenges. Because in addition to the difficulty in finding clinicians who were willing and had the expertise to treat people with blindness or visual impairment, there are logistical challenges such as lack of transportation, difficulty using technology that's available, limited mobility training, and the stigma and ignorance about therapy and the difficulty in finding resources. So we decided to start a pilot program, and we wanted to test some hypotheses. So the hypotheses we wanted to test were, we thought that people might feel more comfortable speaking with a person with a visual disability rather than with a clinician who didn't have that attribute. We also thought that providing therapy by phone would remove barriers to treatment. And we thought that resistance to treatment would be reduced by providing a combination of traditional psychotherapy with resource provision, mentoring, and careful self-disclosure. And we started this program uncertain about what would happen, what kind of response we would get. We decided that we would do this by trying to procure grants and philanthropic sponsorship rather than to go through insurance. And so we started with a half-time therapist. And it's grown from there over the past 5 years. The program structure and processes changed in that we started with intake. Our intake was formerly conducted by a person without lived experience or clinical training. And we modified this by hiring a master's level clinician with a visual disability to help to provide support as people came in the door. And this was incredibly important. And I can tell you, having done intake myself, how many times I have, after listening to people who are new to all of this and who don't really know what they need and are not clear even about whether they should be asking questions, that they've said to me, "This is the most hopeful conversation I've had in a year." Or, "You have helped me to believe that I can live and go on and have a full life." And that is both rewarding for me, but very sad that it has taken people so long to often find services that are available and people who are willing and able to listen. Because one of the things, as I believe Julie referenced, was the difficulty in finding resources when you do have a visual disability. And we make a point in our intake department to make sure that people are aware. We kind of drop a hint by making noise with a screen reader or making some other reference that we are blind ourselves. And that provides hope in and of itself, hope and connection. The next point in the process is really to provide screening. And the screening is provided currently by myself. I am an experienced clinician with 45 years of clinical training and experience. And the reason for screening is both to ensure that for our program, that the primary issues surround the consequences of visual disability and its impacts. First of all, we can't serve everyone. And secondly, there are other places where people with other primary conditions can get treatment. So we wanted to focus on adjustment to visual disability, and also to screen so that we can look at and be sure to take into consideration exclusionary criteria. So for our program, there are a few basics. One is that the person has to have the ability to answer the phone. And that, believe it or not, can be a challenge, particularly for those who are not comfortable with technology or who have not yet become accustomed to using their senses other than vision to answer a phone. People who have insufficient hearing for communication were not going to be appropriate for our program because we are using the phone to work with them. People who need close coordination with their psychopharmacological provider, who are very unstable and need very regular medication management and monitoring, are not eligible for our program because we don't have those resources immediately available.
Forgive me, you have 1
our-
minute left.
Thank you. And we also, they have to be able to speak the language that our current therapists speak. And finally, you have to have sufficient memory and capacity to at least consider some goals. Very quickly, we found that it takes people longer to go through therapy in this process, partly because we have to help to educate them. We also find that it's very difficult to assess outcomes because of difficulties in surveying folks while retaining confidentiality. But we have found that about 85% of the folks who work with us are both feel an increase in competence, confidence, and a hope in their adjustment to blindness. I am delighted to be here. Thank you again for this opportunity. And if you would like more information or to talk about collaboration, I'd love to do so. Please come to my booth at the Massachusetts Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired, where we can talk also more about the need for adjunct services such as consulting, providing consultation services to practitioners in the field, since we can't treat everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Amy is incredible. All of the amazing work that she does, and we cannot speak about it enough. So thank you so much for being here today, Amy, sharing all those amazing resources and sharing your perspective on everything. Thank you so much. And like she said, she is available in the exhibit hall after we're done here. So please go and visit her in the Massachusetts Association for the Blind exhibit booth. That is right after this. I have noticed that a good amount of individuals have signed in recently. So I just want to let you know that this is the speaker series of the Blindness and Mental Health Summit. Welcome. The exhibit hall portion of the summit will take place on our website once the speaker series ends. You'll be able to navigate there by going to accessiblepharmacy.com/summit. That link is in the chat box. I'll put it in there again once we finish here today. But for right now, we are in the speaker series, and next up we have Megan Denenberg from GEM Consultants Group, and she's here today speaking about her collaboration with the 988 Crisis Prevention Hotline. So please, thank you for being here today, Megan, and please take it away. Let me pin you first, and then you can take it away. There you go.
Thanks, Alexandra, and thanks so much to Accessible Pharmacy and allowing us the privilege of speaking amongst all of these extraordinary resources, programs, and people. I'm going to speak about a federal program called 988. I'll give a little bit of a background before we delve into what 988 is. We are a strategic communications and creative agency based in Philadelphia. Our mission is to craft beautiful creative that manifests purpose and inspires audiences. Impact is embedded in our brand strategy, messaging, and design work at every touch point. It's reflected in our values and our people. We are working with the City of Philadelphia's Department of Behavioral Health and Intellectual Disability Services and Scattergood Foundation to implement a citywide awareness campaign to promote 988, a lifeline to support people who may be experiencing a crisis and/or need mental health resources. This 3-digit number is an alternative to 911 when you or someone you know or see is having a mental health crisis and are in need of emergency intervention. A little bit or a lot about what 988 is. As I mentioned, 988 is a lifeline that offers 24/7 access to trained crisis counselors who can help people who need information about local mental health resources, are experiencing suicidal thoughts or feelings, are in emotional distress, battling substance use, and/or having a mental health crisis. You can also connect to 988 if you're worried about a loved one who may need support. Who should call 988? People who are feeling anxious or battling anxiety, experiencing, again, feelings or thoughts of wanting to harm yourselves or others, experiencing feelings of hopelessness or worthlessness, having difficulty dealing with life stresses, and having thoughts of suicide. So how do you use 988? You call 988 from your cell phone or landline, and you will reach a trained crisis line operator who will offer you compassionate support and direction in your time of need. Philadelphians who are deaf or hard of hearing can use your preferred TTY relay service or dial 711, then 988. You can also text or chat 988 from your cell phone, computer, iPads, or any devices offering those features. The text or chat features will reach the national 988 support line, whose operators will connect you to Philadelphia-based services and/or resources. Again, who should use 988? Everyone should use 988. It's important that all Philadelphians, lifelong residents, new residents, youth, adults, seniors, everyone understands that this resource belongs to the people. Language support is available in Spanish, Russian, Vietnamese, French, and Mandarin. And again, I reiterate that TTY users should use your preferred relay service or dial 711, then 988. What will you experience when you call 988? You will reach a compassionate, trained professional. You will receive counseling, guidance, assessment, and/or referrals, warm transfers to other services as needed. A little bit about our relationship, GEM's relationship to 988. We began our work with DBHIDS and Scattergood Foundation in the winter of 2022. We were contracted to develop a comprehensive awareness plan to embed the 988 number in the psyche of all Philadelphians. We were selected for this major undertaking because of our intentional approach to prioritize the input and experience of our clients' target audiences. We commit the time to learning how people consume information, engage with the issue, and navigate their world. As a minority-owned, women-led agency, we collectively have a demonstrated history of concepting and executing meaningful engagement strategies for a variety of clients, including institutions across Philadelphia for 20 years. Our team views multicultural markets and the general market as one and the same, with the focus of never getting truly comfortable with knowing what's best for an audience. We understand that assumptions and bias are dangerous and that diversity speaks to a far larger range than culture. Our approach to 988 actually started with community, as most of our initiatives do. Our community-based approach is rooted in the knowledge and lived experience of our intended audiences, speaking with people rather than at, understanding that assumptions are outdated and too linear, and accepting the communication preferences are also evolving are essential components to our approach. Particularly on our 988 project, we connected with over 100 Philadelphians. From this community, we interviewed Andy, one of our hosts today, and Lynn Heights, president of National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania. We held one-on-one conversations, small group conversations, and developed a questionnaire which was translated into 5 languages. We sought out interviewees via existing relationships, partner connections, and cold emails to people whose input we needed for this vital initiative. How we're spreading the word, as we do for any projects, we developed an integrated awareness plan to put 988 on the radar of all Philadelphians. We recently elevated our 988 awareness execution by launching the 988 Awareness and Design Catalog. This is a unique and creative digital hub featuring a vibrant family of 988 logos and beautiful palettes that place the power of promoting the 988 Lifeline in the hands of the people who know their community best, and to be disseminated in events and traditions that are tried and true for our target audiences. Really quickly, the catalog provides easy-to-use tools and assets for everyone to create their own customized 988 material that connects best with their target audience in a variety of copy, colors, themes aligned to their own brands or informed by years-long knowledge of how their communities trust and engage. There's a lot more to it. I know I'm running out of time. I think it's kind of a paradigm shifter. We really just want communities to be able to speak to their communities in the language and understanding that they've learned through years of working with their communities. And we feel like the catalog is a great opportunity to do that. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Megan. Thank you so much for being here and sharing all that information. You can visit Megan and her team, you can visit Megan's information is in the exhibit hall after the speaker series ends. So all their contact information, and you can read more about them and visit their website in the exhibit hall after we are done here today at the speaker series. And thank you again, Megan, for being here and sharing all of that awesome information. To our next speaker. So next up, we have Jeanine, who is here with us, and her team from Helen Keller Services. So Jeanine, go ahead and take it away. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Alexandra, for having us here, and thank you, Accessible Pharmacies, for also having us as well. I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Liz to have her start us off, and then we'll get into more of what it is that we have to talk about.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us here. We are thrilled to be talking about our services as well as learning about other resources that are available to our participants. So we are here. We are Helen Keller Services for the Blind. We are an agency, a division under Helen Keller Services. We provide all different types of services to individuals who are legally blind in both eyes. Today, specifically, we are talking about the health and wellness program and all of the therapeutic interventions that we are able to offer our participants. Throughout my time at Helen Keller Services for the Blind, I've come to realize that talk therapy is not for everyone, and there are other outlets that give people the opportunity to express themselves as well as the capability to socialize with others. And so I've been very lucky to be able to collaborate with my colleague, Jeanine Markey, who is the program coordinator of the health and wellness program. It is something that I am passionate about. However, Jeanine has become the heart and soul of this program. I'm more than thrilled to hand it over to her, as well as the health and wellness intern, Taryn.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you for introducing us. So yes, my name is Jeanine, and I am the program coordinator for our health and wellness program over at Helen Keller Services. I have had the pleasure of working with Liz for the past, I want to say, almost 5 years. And over that amount of time, our program has really grown and developed, and we hope to continue in that process. So along with my title as Health and Wellness Program Coordinator, I am a licensed creative arts therapist. So as Liz had mentioned, we really like to incorporate a variety of therapeutic services to our individuals. That way they can explore different ways to express themselves. So creative arts therapy, what is that? I am, along with being a licensed creative arts therapist, my modality is dance movement therapy specifically. So some people may have heard of music therapy, art therapy. And that all falls under the umbrella of creative arts therapy. My modality is dance movement therapy. And what is dance movement therapy? So it's the therapeutic use of movement to promote social, emotional, cognitive, and physical integration of the individual. So what that means is we utilize the therapeutic group and our creative movements and just creativity of the individual to express themselves in a new way. I'll have music going and we'll move together. We give our participants a lot of autonomy in choices of how they want to move their bodies. Do they want to sit? Do they want to stand? What music do they enjoy? And so it really is formed and created to the individuals that come to our groups. So the dance movement therapy groups are what I run. Our agency has been lucky enough to have interns. And this year we were lucky enough to have Taryn join our agency as a dance movement therapy intern. So I'm going to just pass it to her quickly to hear a little bit about what her experience has been like and what she's learned.
Thank you, Jeanine. So hi, everyone. I am Taryn. I'm a dance movement therapist in training under the supervision of Jeanine. I've had the privilege to work with the different populations at Helen Keller Services within the health and wellness program, but also within their day hab program. Their day hab program consists of individuals that are referred by the OPWDD. And over the last 10 months, I've learned a lot. But the main thing I've learned is how dance and movement can be transformed and used as a healing art for the individuals that we work with. So thank you so much for allowing me to share with you all, and I will pass it back to Jeanine now.
Thank you, Taryn. So yes, with our groups, we have really had to adapt and adapt our work as dance movement therapists to be accessible to our clients. And so we've been able to do that in many ways. On top of our dance movement therapy sessions and creative arts therapy sessions that we have with our clients, we offer a variety of other activities that really look to promote and encompass the holistic approach of an individual. So we have our therapeutic group, creative arts therapy, and then some activities that we've had this year that have rolled out so far are our yoga classes. We have a phenomenal instructor who comes and volunteers her own time, and she is legally blind as well, and she leads our groups in yoga instruction and really works with their breathing, which helps them in so many ways. We have a nutritionist that comes in and does nutrition education with our clients. We go over what we should be, looking for when it comes to grocery shopping, how to make healthier choices. And for those who don't do their own grocery shopping and have others doing it for them, how can we communicate our needs to live a healthier life? We do some gardening field trips to a lovely garden out here on Long Island, where it allows our clients to get very tactile and sensory, getting their hands dirty, learning how to plant and maintain vegetables, herbs, and just being able to do things for themselves and get outside and socialize with those around them. It's really wonderful to see the community that is built within these activities. And at Helen Keller Services, our mission is to learn, grow, and thrive. So our program for health and wellness, we really look to instill those values within the activities that we offer for our program. And the feedback that I've gotten from clients, the experiences that they have shared, they just really have shared how much it's helped them adjust to their vision loss, whether they're in the early stages of their adjustment or if they've been coping with their vision loss for years. They just find being able to connect with those around them and having a support system has been really beneficial to them. And the biggest thing that comes from our groups is their connection to one another. So I am just happy to be a small part of the bigger picture of this program. And that is all I have for you guys. Liz, did you have anything else you wanted?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, so we're going to be at the exhibit hall. I hope I'm getting that correct. And we can
Yes.
explain further about all the subdivisions under Helen Keller Services. We talked a little bit about it, but we can answer any questions because Taryn mentioned OPWDD. There's Helen
Yes.
Keller Services for the Blind. There's Helen Keller National Center. So if you have any questions, we would be more than happy to answer them then. Thank you again for having us.
Yes, thank you. And check out our exhibit booth. I've got wonderful, photos to share of all the great stuff our clients do. So thank you again, Alexandra and Accessible Pharmacies, for having us. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, thank you guys. This was absolutely wonderful information. It's so cool to think about dance therapy versus gardening versus so many different options depending upon, what works best for each individual person. And it's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, they're going to be at the exhibit hall too. So please go and, continue the conversation, go learn more. And that's Helen Keller Services. So yeah, they'll be at the exhibit hall after we're done here. And yes, they will be there. Go and check them out. Next up, we have Sarah with the NFB, National Federation of Blind Human Services Division. Thank you so much for being here, Sarah. 1 second while I get your pinned up and ready, but please go ahead and take it away.
Well, thank you so much for allowing me to be here and talk to you guys. Thank you for also putting on this event. My name is Sarah Patnaude, and I am the president of the National Federation of the Blind Human Services Division. The National Federation of the Blind is the largest and oldest organization of blind individuals. We were founded in 1940. I do not have time to go through everything that we do in the NFB. Come to the exhibit hall if you want to learn more. But I really wanted to talk a little bit more specifically about the Human Services Division and some of the barriers that I have personally experienced and have know others have experienced in receiving mental health services. The Human Services Division is just one portion of the National Federation of the Blind. We are made up of professionals in, the human services field. This is social workers, psychologists, physical therapists, speech therapists, human resources, pretty much anyone who works with people. And so we are a very broad division. We work on different issues. One of the issues that we talk about a lot is how do we get blind people employed in the human services field and some of those barriers that we face in these fields as professionals. But we also talk about some of the issues that people face as service seeking services. And so while we are not exclusively mental health, we do talk a lot about mental health. And one of the barriers that comes up a lot that I've seen in my personal life and that also as my professional life is that professionals, mental health professionals, have this assumption that if you're seeking services as a blind or as a disabled individual, it is because of your disability. And while that is the case for many people, especially if you are newly blinded or newly disabled, that's not the case for everyone. Blindness and other disabilities are just one portion of us. We all have different backgrounds, different experiences, different characteristics, different identities that all accumulate into who we are. And therefore, we don't share, although we share some of the experiences as people with disabilities, we still have all these other experiences and backgrounds that can impact on mental health as well. And so a little bit of background, I have my master's in social work. I also have my master's in counseling and guidance, in orientation and mobility. I currently work as the home management instructor at the Alabama Freedom Center of the Blind, but I have worked in mental health centers as well. So in my personal and professional life, I definitely see a lot of negative attitudes towards blindness and disabilities from the provider that can really be detrimental to the client. So me personally, I have several mental health diagnoses. I have anxiety, depression, and borderline personality disorder. And all these things I would have if I was sighted. None of my diagnoses are specifically impacted by my blindness. But I remember I had a therapist several years ago that I went to for a traumatic event that happened that had nothing to do with my blindness. And my therapist was very focused on my blindness. Oh my gosh, your life must be terrible because you were blind. That's all he wanted to talk about was my blindness. And we never actually talked about the traumatic event. Every week it was about blindness and how stressful my life is because I'm blind. And I since left that therapist, and the therapist I have now is amazing. Talked about that in a moment. But my experience isn't unique. This is the experience that a lot of people face. And again, yes, your disability can affect mental health, and this is especially true for people who are newly disabled, but it doesn't always. And I think professionals, if you're a professional, have an open mind. Don't assume that someone's blindness or someone's disability impacts them the way that you think it would, or is their total identity or whatever. Have an open mind and let the client lead that conversation. And if you're seeking mental health services, take charge of that conversation surrounding your disability as you feel comfortable. As the client and as the expert in your disability, you're the expert on yourself, you're the expert on your disability. Lead that conversation. It's okay to be like, hey, in the first session or the first couple sessions, be like, hey, this is my disability. This is what I think of it. This is how it does and does not impact me. And this is, how I view it. This is my philosophy. And that's exactly what I did with the therapist I have now. The very first session, I said, hey, I'm blind. It's just one part of me. It's just a characteristic. It's like my purple hair. It's just a tiny part of me. Yeah, I guess it impacts me indirectly, but that's not why I'm seeking services. I'm very positive about my blindness. There's a whole much more to me than it. And by taking that chance and by taking that conversation, we were able to move past my disability in a productive way and come back to it when we needed to, but it's not this white elephant in the room. And there was no assumptions. I was able to dispel any of those assumptions that she had. She could ask me questions if she needed to, if she didn't understand anything. So I really encourage you guys to take charge of that conversation around your disability as you feel comfortable. You may not feel comfortable, and that's okay. But really, you are the expert of your disability, and if you're expert as yourself. And as providers really need to be open to that. And I also wanted to just talk a moment about human services. One of the projects that we are working on, not relating to that, but one of the projects we are working on is providing a list or a database of blind human services fields. So we're going to create a database with everyone who works in the human services field, as many people as we can get who are also blind, so that as individuals who are seeking services, or even if you want to go into the human service field yourself and you're looking for mentorship or internships, or you just have questions, you can search on the database to say, hey, I'm looking for this type of person, say social worker. He also listed the blind social workers. Hopefully we'll slowly working on that. We just collected some information. We're still in the process of collecting information. So if you're in the human services field and you don't mind sharing your information so that others can get contact with you, we would greatly appreciate you being on this database. We want to really be this to be a great resource for blind individuals so that they can find service providers or people in their field who are like them and might be able to answer some of their questions or provide services to them, because some blind people do only feel comfortable or feel more comfortable with service providers who are also blind. And so that is something that we are working on. Stay tuned. Again, if you feel comfortable and you're in the human services field, we greatly appreciate you being willing to be part of the scale base. But I will also be in the exhibit hall to answer any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
She'll be in the exhibit hall, but really, really empowering words, Sarah. Please, seriously, thank you so much for sharing all of that information and sharing your experiences and just being here overall. Like she said, she'll be in the exhibit hall to continue that conversation and answer any questions that you have. And all those links about the NFB Human Services Division, all of that is available in the exhibit hall as well. So thank you again, Sarah. And on to our next speaker. I'm really excited to introduce Dr. Jason Doorish with Guide Dogs for the Blind. So please, Jason, go ahead and take it away.
Alex. So hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Jason Doorish. I fulfill many roles of why I'm here. So I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Texas who has worked in a variety of inpatient, outpatient, and long-term residential treatment centers as a therapist since 2007. I primarily am a trauma therapist by training and have worked extensively in the addiction field. I began working for Guide Dogs for the Blind in 2022. My dissertation was entitled Dog Guides and Families. It was an online qualitative study looking at the experience of the first-time guide dog handler. Guide Dogs for the Blind is the largest guide dog organization in the United States. We currently have about 1,700 active graduates. It is estimated that there are about 10,000 active guide dog teams at any time in the US at any time. Guide dog handlers, it is a lifestyle choice, it is a mobility aid, and it comes with a variety of issues that you don't get with a cane. And so my role at Guide Dogs for the Blind is I help support guide dog clients through the application process, through making sure we can help accommodate them with any sort of accommodations they need for mental health diagnosis or other disabilities. I run a transition peer support group during the training process for them because often around retirement and around the death of a guide dog, there's a great deal of grief that arises. One of the most common things that people call me for at Guide Dogs for the Blind for support is around that issue. The number one thing I hear from people is, I have a therapist and they don't get it when my dog dies. They say, oh, I know it's hard to lose a pet. And so, in my role as the psychosocial support person at Guide Dogs for the Blind, I can provide peer support and education to them through that process. I'm currently working my third guide dog. I got my first guide dog in 2007. I've had a guide dog relationship not work out 4 months in, and kind of a variety of issues working through what it's like having a guide dog. So I run that support group during the class process. I support people after the process. One of the things I'm really excited about and I've really started working with is Guide Dogs for the Blind now has a 5-day orientation and mobility intensive program for people who want to expand their skills in learning how to utilize non-tactile feedback techniques, so increasing some of the more dynamic orientation stuff. That program, the Guide Dogs for the Blind program, are totally free for anyone in the US or Canada. And so we also just started and launched our adult canine buddy program, So that's a program for guide dogs that have not did not make it quite through training, and people that are visually impaired or blind, who maybe aren't ready for the guide dog, or have had guide dogs their whole life, and would like to transition to just having a pet dog. The Canine Buddy Program's dogs don't have any sort of accessibility rights. They are just a pet. But again, Guide Dogs for the Blind supports other guide dog schools. I've helped do, I've helped to do some training with other schools. I've presented at the International Guide Dog Federation on meeting the psychosocial support needs of guide dog clients internationally. I've consulted with a school in the Netherlands on how to build a program to address the unique needs of guide dog clients. So that is a very brief overview. It's a very, very large topic. I'm also still in private practice in the state of Texas and work in that capacity as well. I unfortunately cannot be in the exhibit hall today. So all of my contact information, all of Guide Dogs for the Blind's information will be available on a landing page. So feel free to reach out. I just wanted to come and help support this, the first mental health summit. When I saw the information, I was really excited to be able to talk about our unique population of guide dog handlers. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here, Jason. Everything you spoke about is incredibly important. And yes, Jason can't be here for the exhibit hall, but like you said, all of this information is there. You can read more about Guide Dogs for the Blind. His contact information is there as well. And we would just like to thank you again for being here today and speaking about guide dogs and your role with Guide Dogs for the Blind. And yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. Take care.
Thanks, Jason.
Bye.
Right. Next up, we have Pam Shaw with the American Council of the Blind Mental Health and Wellness Committee. So 1 second while I pin the correct person. And Andy, do you have her?
Yes, we should
All
be
right.
live.
All right, awesome. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you and good afternoon. How excited I am to be with you today and certainly bring you greetings on behalf of the American Council of the Blind. I think that this is fantastic. Who would have thought that the day would come when thousands of people from even different countries would gather together to talk about something as important as mental health and blindness? What an exciting time to be, I think, alive as a person who's blind and with low vision. I'd like to share with you from the perspective of 3 words and share with you how the American Council of the Blind has and is addressing such a critical issue. The first word that I'd like to talk about is voice. Yes, we heard from many, many voices of the members of our organizations about the challenges of blindness and mental health. They talked to us about their personal experiences with family members, and many came and spoke to us as professionals in the field, some of whom even knew also what it was like to deal with blindness and mental health. Some of them were like me, a child born prematurely, whose parents were told that with this child being blind and some other issues, you'll probably want to keep her home for a little while, but we think you should really consider institutionalization. And here I am today as a person who has worked in mental health, as a therapist, as a person who has worked in social work and the field and in clinical social work, and someone who now gets to, on a daily basis, advocate in the field of mental health and blindness. One of the things that I will tell you that also happened, interestingly enough, in our organization was the leadership of the organization thought it wise that we integrate this, that we make this a part of our everyday work in the American Council of the Blind. So it is not something that is separated out. It's part of what we do. And again, it comes from listening to the voices. We have to listen, yes, to the voices of those who are experiencing this, but we also have to listen to the voices that are out there that use inappropriate language that continues to stigmatize and stereotype who we are. We have to listen to the voices that tell us, even as mental health professionals, no, we should not automatically assume that just because a person is blind, as was said, that that's the cause of their mental illness. But at the same time, we can't ignore it when it is clearly a factor. We need to listen to the voices that tell us to go into the medical schools, professional associations of all types, to make sure that in the training that they are taught some of the things that must be said to them relative to being people with disabilities. And it should be, we believe, a mandatory part of the curriculum in medical schools. The other thing that we put together as we think about how to deal with blindness and mental health is the whole issue of choice. Lots of times, the one thing that is taken away is the matter of choice. You are blind. You are also dealing with a mental health illness. You don't know what's best for you. And more to the point, you shouldn't even speak. No, choice must always remain with the individual because it is part of the curative process. And so we believe in choice for all people who are blind. You can decide how you want to be mobile. You can decide whether you use Braille, large print, or whatever is going to work for you. And more to the point, you can decide what your life will actually be like. But another important piece in our organization is community. This today is a type of community because we are actually learning and listening and building together. We have a whole system, 7 days a week, of community calls where people can talk to one another and their shared experience, their shared hope, and their shared strengths. And this is what also promotes what's necessary for all of us. I know that time is short and we have other speakers, but I feel compelled to leave you with this. We must all become blindness and mental health advocates. We should be doing whatever we can. We don't always do what each other does, but we can do whatever we can to make life better and to enhance the quality of life for people who are living this. When we see someone or hear someone who is using inappropriate behavior, we should correct them. We should be in touch with our local politicians and our local service providers to at least make sure in our communities that people can get quality services. It's possible. We know we can do it because we're doing it now. And so we invite you to check out the American Council of the Blind at website, and we have some representation in the exhibit hall. But again, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today, and best wishes to you all. I honor you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Pam. Everything she shared is amazing. As she said, their information, you can learn more about them in the exhibit hall. We have some background information about the American Council of the Blind, some links and resources from them. And thank you so much, Pam, for sharing all that wonderful information. Next up, we have Martine from the World Blind Union. So Martine, go ahead and take it away.
She's from New Zealand.
Yes.
She's Aboriginal.
Can people hear and see me?
Yes.
Wonderful. People, thank you so much for inviting me to Accessible Pharmacy. Thank you so much. I got up, I set my alarm because I thought I can't just do an all-nighter on a Friday. I'm not that young anymore. So I better set my alarm and get up for this. It started at 4 a.m. and now it's nearly 6 a.m. and I've just been blown away by everybody's commitment and content. And I also want to acknowledge there are some agencies here on the line that are members of the World Blind Union. So I want to acknowledge, because the World Blind Union is not me, it is all our member organizations from 190 countries around the world. I'm here, it's the morning of what is it, 15 June. I think I'm maybe one of the only ones that are in the new day. I've got I'm totally blind. I'm busy retiring my 4th guide dog, so I very much know about what it's going through to have a dog, a guide retired, not a pet. And I'm totally blind. And I live in New Zealand, although I was born in Namibia, which is part of the old Southwest Africa. And when I was diagnosed as being blind, we got told that there's no mainstream services in Namibia. So my family moved to South Africa and I went to school there. And then afterwards, I emigrated to New Zealand. So I love the international scene. And today I want to talk about connecting us internationally, because I think between apps, smartphone apps and email lists and so on, what sometimes helps us a lot too is if you wake up in the middle of the night and you feel like connecting with someone, there is someone at the end of a email or a text or a WhatsApp. So I love the idea of blind people from over the world communicating. So as I say, the World Blind Union is there representing the 253 million blind people and vision impaired people from across the world. We divided into 6 regions just to make management a bit easy. So we've got the Asia Pacific region, the Asia region, North America region, South America region, Africa, and European Blind Union. And so people could contact us on worldblindunion.ngo. Please be in touch. We can let you know who in your country are signed up as members, because we believe that international contact is getting us all connected, especially following COVID, when many people became quite isolated. I'm not going to go over many barriers, because very, very expert people before me talked about the barriers, such as we can all be very mentally healthy until you can't find a job, until your guide dog retires, until you become blind, until, so I want to acknowledge the speakers before me, because you saved me you saved me some information, but I just want to refer a little back. Over COVID lockdown, many vision impaired people got because of social isolation, it's like when you get onto a train or when you visit a facility, people would use the excuse, you need to be accompanied by a support person. Many of us have been born blind. We can work our way around. So, so we went a bit backwards, but hopefully we can move forwards, because hopefully the angst about human contact is gone. Then I want to talk about partnerships. It's very important. Now, I already talked about we want you all to link with us internationally. I hope the World Health Organization is present. I'm not sure, but we did let them know. The World Blind Union has got a partnership with the World Health Organization just to spread the information about world health. And about a year ago, the World Health Organization published a toolkit on accessible health services. And you may think, what has it got to do with mental health? But we can all be very mental health savvy, but the moment you're isolated or the information is not accessible or you don't know where to reach, then that can actually influence your mental health. So what I want to say to people is there is a WHO, World Health Organization toolkit on accessible health services. And it's about telling policymakers and service providers how to make health services accessible. Because let's face it, if generic health services are not accessible, then mental health service, then it will affect our mental health. You can look me up. I'll be very happy to be in touch with you personally. Now, the next one is the twin track approach. I don't know whether many of you heard of the twin track approach. And some of you have referred to this. It's about when people going to blindness services. We have got great blindness experts that can help us with emotional support. And when we go to mainstream services, it's a bit of a hit and miss. And we can't say to people, don't go to a mainstream service, because they should be knowledgeable about a vision impairment, but unfortunately they're not. So we've got a big task. We've got to ask our blindness services agencies to make sure that blindness counseling and emotional services are provided to us, and preferably by blind people, because let's face it, we are the ones that have to tell people how to get on with life. And then we have to deal with the other side of the twin track approach, which is mainstream services. How can we encourage universities and others to say the blindness can influence lives, but it may not be the dominant factor, as the previous speaker, 2 speakers ago said. Just because I'm maybe scared of water or something doesn't mean it's linked to my blindness. So, you know, there needs to be a bit of a balance, and we've still got some work around that. Then I want to talk about acknowledging the work that so many agencies have done, because accessible health services can influence our mental health. And I want to acknowledge all of you that are dealing with accessible medication and drugs, European Blind Union to do with labeling. I remember traveling to the UK, and that was about 7 years ago, and I felt ill, and I went to the pharmacy, and I'll tell you what, when I felt the braille on the box of the medication they gave me, I nearly felt better. It was so invigorating. But I also want to acknowledge Be My Eyes, IRA, and so many other services that between the mixture of accessible apps and braille, that we should just have medication at our fingertips. We shouldn't have to wait for someone to visit us, a community nurse, to say, oh, you take this in the morning, you take this in the afternoon. So I want to acknowledge the progress. Also, nowadays, there's so many toolkits, you know, home toolkits, our test for bowel screen cancer, test for diabetes. And I would just hope that if we have researchers here and governments here and other people here, please can we work towards accessibility? Many of our people are already isolated. So if you just get a testing kit in the mail and say, how do you test your stool, you know, let's face it, it's like, how can it be accessible and dignified? So I think that's part of mental health. How do we, in a world that you don't have to go to a doctor, but you can test yourself, how can that be accessible? Now I want to get on to a very important relationship that the World Blind Union has with Vanda Pharmaceutical in the US. Up to about 12 or so years ago, or maybe 15, many blind people were diagnosed with depression and anxiety disorder, including me, because we couldn't sleep properly. Either we couldn't fall asleep, or once we get woken up, we couldn't fall back asleep, until there's a huge realization that there's the issue with the melatonin, which is the hormone in our system that regulates night and day. So in the day, you should feel awake. In the night, you should feel sleepy. Now, if you can't see, then that gets disrupted, because there's not a system to tell you when to feel sleepy, when to feel awake. So Vanda Pharmaceutical talk about non-24 sleep-wake disorder. And I'm not saying that I'm happy to be, classified or diagnosed, but for ages, many blind people were on antidepressants and anxiety drugs, where actually a melatonin supplement could have help regulate it, this sleep disorder. Because let's face it, if you really can't sleep for ages or you wake up, then maybe it does lead to a mental health condition. So I want to acknowledge Vanda Pharmaceutical and other people who have got knowledge around non-24 sleep-wake disorder. I'll get on to the call to action because I think we should, in this huge get together, do a call of action after this meeting. And this is steps for...
You have 1 minute left.
Great. Steps for service providers as well as policymakers. 1, please make sure when you do policy, you liaise with blind people. Don't just be a government policy person. Secondly, liaise with us, all of us, when you do research about blindness and mental health. And in the conclusion, people, I want to thank you for inviting me, even though I'm in the next day. It was wonderful to meet up with you, and I'll stay online connected. Please link with us, worldblindunion.ngo. And next year, 22 September onward, is the week of our General Assembly in Sao Paulo. So come and exhibit your goods. Please come and register with us. 22 September onward, 2025 in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And we can have the World General Assembly of Blind People. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Martina, she said she has visited, or she's speaking with us from New Zealand. So yeah, it's the 14th of June for us. It is the 15th of June for her. It is super, super early in the morning for her. And thank you for being here. And just speaking about all those amazing global resources and just all those different topics and experiences. Thank you for being here. More information about the World Blind Union is available at the exhibit hall. And thank you again, Martine. Next up, I'm super excited to introduce Kimberley Dobbs. I'm so excited for her to be here. She is here to just talk about her own personal experiences, and she runs her own practice out of Philadelphia. So please take it away, Kim.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Am I in focus?
You are in focus and I can hear you.
Okay, fabulous. So I'm going to echo everybody else's gratitude to Accessible Pharmacy for hosting an event like this today. I think that the conversation is vital, the conversation about mental health at large, and also specifically for the blind and low vision community. So as Alexandra said, my name is Kimberley Dobbs. I am a licensed professional counselor, and I own a group practice called Intuitive Counseling and Wellness in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So I come today with the perspective of both a person who is a mental health professional and also a person who is experiencing blindness. I went blind over time from a condition called retinitis pigmentosa. I was diagnosed at 17 years old and was told that by the age of 40, I would likely be blind. And I am now 41 years old. And I have light perception. So I'm going to start with a statistic. 1 in 4 adults who are experiencing moderate to severe vision loss also experience anxiety and depression. And as a mental health professional and also as a person who's blind, I can say that number didn't surprise me as much as reading that we are 2 to 3 times more likely to experience depression and anxiety than those who are not experiencing vision loss. And that begs the question, why? Why are we more prevalent to feel depressed and anxious than the general population? And this is what I know. Whether you're a person who's gone blind over time, like myself, or you're a person who's experienced vision loss later in life, you were born blind perhaps, there's one universal experience that all of us have, and that's loneliness and isolation. So a few weeks ago, I went down to Florida for my God love her, my 95-year-old Holocaust surviving grandmother to celebrate her 95th birthday. And I was pumped about it. I was excited to see my family and be a part of this whole like wonderful experience. And also, I realized that like those experiences are hard, right? Because I knew that I was going to go there and be the only person with vision loss. And one of the days we all got into the pool and we were swimming, and I was with my cousins and my nieces and nephews, and it was myself and my cousin says, "Hey, are there any adults that can come into the pool to watch the kids? Because I'm getting out." And I had this moment where, while that was objectively the truth, right? I was an adult that could not watch my nieces and nephews. It was a moment where I felt really alone. I felt really alone, and I felt even a little embarrassed. And I share this story with you because I think that this is something that anybody with vision loss experiences, whether you are going to class, whether you are in a work environment, or you're just navigating public spaces. You are likely the only person in that space with vision loss. And that can feel really lonely and hard. So this is why I'm excited, because when I was asked to be a part of this conversation today, this panel, I knew that a lot of people were going to be registered for it. When I asked Alexandra at the beginning, before we started today, how many people actually were registered, she said over 3,400 people were registered for this today. And I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't instantly terrified. But like equally, I was like, this is it. And what I mean by it is I've learned in all the years I've been doing this work as a mental health therapist, as a person who's both gone through going blind and is now living blind. The key to mental wellness, and of course there's a lot of factors that can contribute to mental wellness, but the key to mental wellness is cultivating and being a part of a community. And this is our community. I encourage you to join support groups. Find people around you that are like you, that you can relate to, and people who can relate to you. I encourage you, if mental health therapy is your thing, go to therapy. Find a therapist that gets it, that'll get you, that'll help you cope with the process of vision loss, the process of grief and acceptance, adjusting to the world that we all live in, that we all know is not built for us. Utilize these organizations that are here. I just quick sidebar. I feel so honored to be a part of all of these panelists, because even some of these services I was really like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Okay. Find these organizations that can provide you the devices, the technology, the trainings and technology that can allow you to live an empowered and autonomous and independent life. I want you guys to know that despite all the experience I have as a mental health therapist, right? How I'm trained, I'm trauma informed, all the things. I've gone through the process of going blind. I am blind. And also this is hard. This is hard. And feeling that and knowing that there is this community for us, this is new. And when I say this, I mean what Accessible Pharmacy is doing. This is new. Getting us all together so that we don't feel so alone and isolated. This is huge. And I really encourage you to find your people, cultivate your community. Because this is hard, but it doesn't have to be as hard as it can sometimes feel. So I'd like to thank everybody for attending my TED Talk today. And if you are a resident of Pennsylvania and you would like to chat about some counseling, all of my therapists are competent in working with people with disabilities. They're trauma informed. I unfortunately will not have an exhibit at today's, the second part of today's event, but Alexandra will share my contact information, and I'm happy to have chats with whoever wants to reach out. I'm all about cultivating my community as well. Okay, so thank you so much for letting me speak today.
Thanks, Kim. Yeah, absolutely. I will share your information. We'll share Kim's information in the follow-up email that goes out. Everything you said is absolutely incredible. And thank you for sharing all that personal experience and also information about your practice. And yeah, Kim is absolutely amazing. I've had the pleasure of working with Kim on our webinar back in September, and I knew as soon as we decided to do this one that I wanted you to participate in it as well.
Thanks, Alex.
It's just amazing, and I
love you. You're the best. So happy for this.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you were able to do this one, as well as the webinar from September as well. So if anybody wants to check that one out, it's recorded and available on our website and on our YouTube page, because Kim speaks on that too. And she's incredible on that as well. So thank you again, Kim.
You're welcome.
Of course. So next up is our final presenter. And save the best for last. We have Cori Andrews and Amy Brunner Osvold from the Association for Education and Rehabilitation of the Blind and Visually Impaired. I'm so excited they're here to speak with everybody. And thank you both for being here. And please go ahead and get started.
Yeah, last but not least, right?
Exactly.
As I said, and I want to reiterate what everybody else is saying. We're very honored to have been asked to be a part of this amazing event. As Alexandria said, my name is Cori Andrews. I am the current chair for at least another month for the Psychosocial Services Division of AER. I come with two perspectives. I come as somebody who was born with an inherited visual impairment. So as of today, I have 56 years of actual experience as an individual with visual impairment. But then I also come as a VI professional. I've worked as an itinerant vision teacher for almost 30 years. AER, as she said, stands for the Association for the Education and the Rehabilitation of the Blind and Visually Impaired. AER came to be by the combination of two existing organizations, AEBH, which was Educators for the Visually Handicapped, the term that they used then, not now. AAWB, the American Association of Workers for the Blind. So one dealt with education, one dealt with more of the rehabilitation. So by blending these two existing organizations, we now can help all VI professionals regardless of their role in the field of vision. We are happy to be celebrating our 40th anniversary of existence this year. And as I said, AER is a national professional membership organization. in the US and in Canada. We are dedicated to professionals who provide services to persons with vision loss. We promote and support professionals by advocating for evidence-based practices, high quality standards, value-added resources, and giving voice to issues of critical importance. That is something we'll come back to, including resolutions. As I said, Amy's going to talk about in a minute. Each state has chapters, except for a few states that have fewer populations, like North and South Dakota. They have what's the Dakotas chapter. But these chapters provide local support for our VI professionals. Divisions are the backbone of our organization. They're all run by volunteer professionals like myself. There are currently 16 divisions. Some are based on your profession, like orientation mobility or vocational rehabilitation therapy. There's also ones that are geared towards certain areas like low vision rehabilitation, professional preparation, so to prepare those our future professionals, and administration and leadership. We also have interest in issues driven divisions like physical activity and recreation, international services and global issues, and of course, psychosocial services division, which again, I said I'm the current chair of. The psychosocial services division, the members of this division have many different roles and serve directly as well as indirectly with those with vision loss. What we have in common is that we care about the social, emotional well-being and mental health of those that we serve. The division also focuses on our own social, emotional well-being and mental health as vision professionals. Because they say on the plane, you have to put our oxygen mask on first before you help somebody else. So we have to make sure we're okay, so we can make sure those we serve are okay. Today, we are here to focus on the mental health of those we serve. By finding we were hoping to find partnership with those who are in the mental health field. We are the vision professionals. We know about vision. As I said, I have personal experience as somebody with a visual impairment. And I have the experience of being a VI professional. But not all of us, Amy's has social work, so she has the mental health. But the best way we can help those who are blind and visually impaired is to be able to partnership with those who are in the mental health field. And so now I'm going to turn it, and one of the ways we're trying to do that is a resolution that was passed and at our international conference in 2022 that deals with equal access to mental health for those who are blind and visually impaired. Because it's so important to look at not just what's going on with our eyes, but to think of the whole body. Our mind and body are just as important as teaching those vision-specific skills. So Amy, if you would like to tell everybody about our resolution.
Okay, I am Amy Osvold, and I come to you with many different hats. I have been visually impaired for 42 of my 46 years. I've also been a mental health service user. I have worked as a vision rehabilitation specialist for the state of North Dakota for 22 years. And in that time, what I have seen is I have seen families and support people who don't know what to do or where to go. I have seen individuals who are struggling mentally. And my job as a vision rehabilitation specialist was to teach skills. And one of the things that I tell people is You know, I can teach skills all day long, but if a person's mental health is impacting their ability to even get out of bed in the morning, my teaching is not going to be effective. And so the final hat that I wear is because of that, because I saw a need in working close with mental health, I went back to Florida State University and graduated with my master's in social work in 2023. And so with that, I had some health issues that came up a couple months ago. So I have my lovely assistant, also known as my husband, Brian. So my voice didn't change, but he will be reading some things for me to keep me on track.
Resolution.
This is the resolution from AER.
Whereas the experience of consumers and professionals alike throughout the vision loss community with addiction, mental health and emotional health, and related challenges require an urgent and multifaceted response by all of us to address stigma, to create a welcoming environment, and to make this topic a meaningful part of our organizational commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And whereas this organization, as have been unconscionably uniform among organizations of and for people who are blind or visually impaired, has paid little attention to the crisis of mental and emotional health and well-being among people with vision loss. And whereas the specific challenges and service needs relating to the mental health and well-being of individuals with vision loss are largely ignored or misunderstood by the mental health system and mental health professionals. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the AER that this organization, through its advocacy committee and the cooperation of all interested AER divisions, both independently and in full partnership with the American Council of the Blind's recently established Mental Health and Wellness Initiative, encourage the professional mental health community for the purpose of fostering greater professional competence in their work with patients and clients who are blind or visually impaired. And be it further resolved that this organization consider ways in which AER might better support its individual members and friends in their own unique needs for mental and emotional well-being through AER's programs and activities.
And so what does that mean? What does that mean for all of us? What does that mean for the 3,400 people who are here? Whether you are a professional in the field, whether you are a person with vision loss, whether you are a support person. What that means is there's 4 prongs that I want to talk about. So first is to ensure, first and foremost, that the question gets asked and people get the resources they need. Okay, and what that means is, you know, as a professional and as somebody who is new into the mental health field, I need to be finding out how that person is doing, but not just asking the question, how are you doing? How are you adjusting? Okay, I need to be prepared to act on that. If I am a person with vision loss, I need help to have the courage to come forward and say, I need help. I can tell you in my 42 years of being visually impaired, do you know how many doctors have asked me how I'm adjusting to my vision loss? One, and that is unacceptable. The second prong is
ensure not everything is blamed on vision loss.
Okay, and again, ensuring that not everything is blamed on vision loss. What that means is mental health professionals and family members and regular care doctors need to understand that vision loss isn't a person, okay? We are the person. Vision loss lives with us, meaning we are in control. Therefore, not everything that happens in a person's life is affected by vision loss. So for example, if I'm having trouble with my husband raising my stepchildren, and I go see a therapist, that therapist needs to address the situation and not assume that all of the issues and all of the problems are because of my vision loss. And the only way that happens is if people listen to us. The third prong.
Sorry, Amy, 1 minute left.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ensure families and support people receive support.
Okay, and all of our families and friends need support to help us. And the final one is
ensure knowledgeable mental health professionals.
What that means is that we need to have more presence in training programs. One of the things that happened in my program was when I was doing my thesis, I could not find a lot of information on what modality, what therapy modality worked best for people with vision loss. Why is that? Because the research isn't out there. Not only that, but professionals need to know how to work with people with vision loss. And the only way that all of these areas are met is if all of us, all 3,400 of us from 20 countries, from every state in the United States, stand up, work together, and say, I'm here. I believe in this. And so I'm asking you to partner with AER and create a coalition. Because as Helen Keller said, alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Cori. And you guys are amazing, Cori and Amy. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being here today and speaking about all the amazing things that AER BVI does. They will both have an exhibit. Well, they have an exhibit booth together. You can go and continue that conversation with them right now. This ends the first part of our Blindness and Mental Health Summit. We are now going to move on to our second part, which is the exhibit hall. I want to extend a huge thank you to all of our speakers for presenting with us today and sharing their thoughts and experiences and all of their resources as well. Seriously, thank you, thank you, thank you. We really didn't know what to expect with planning this event, but like I said in the beginning, we were absolutely overwhelmed with the response that we got. Mental health is an incredibly important, layered, and global topic. And we are grateful to the community that we have to be able to speak with you all about it today, to be able to have all of these speakers from all of these different types of organizations to speak about it, to be able to have this platform, and to just be able to have the conversation with you today. So thank you for attending, speakers. Thank you for speaking. And thank you for allowing us to have this type of event with you. Like I said, we are now going to start part 2 of our Blindness and Mental Health Summit, the exhibit hall. The exhibit hall takes place on our website. The link was sent to you in an email. It is also currently in the chat box. I just put it in there. And you can also find it by navigating to our website, www.accessiblepharmacy.com/summit. That's www.accessiblepharmacy.com/summit. When you navigate to that website, you will find an alphabetical listing of all of the exhibitors. So it's companies and organizations. All you have to do is click on a company's name. You can read about their organization, and you can click on the Zoom link at the top of that page to speak to a representative from that company. We hope you join us for the exhibit hall. A follow-up email will be sent to you really soon over the next few days with the recordings from this speaker series and information on how to receive CE credit for attending today. I really, really want to thank you again for attending. Thank all of our presenters for speaking today, and hope you have a great rest of your day, and hope to have you join us for the exhibit hall. All right, bye everybody.